Matt, I appreciate you jumping on a call. Before we get started, love to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us who you are, where are you based out of, how many stores you have, and a little bit about your background within the restaurant industry.
Sure. Yeah, this is Matt Spidell from Glenwood Springs, Colorado. We've been a Jimmy John franchisee since 2012 officially. We've had our first store in Glenwood Springs. We had five stores total at one time, but we're down to one. I believe we used Vivant for all of them. So yeah, and that's the background. And I think you mentioned kind of why did we take Vivant, right? What did we try before did we switch? I don't ever look at us as switching. I just looked at it as I had a intolerance. I had an intolerance. Sorry, my little dog's here. I had an intolerance for being without internet and being without sales. So that was I'm one of those freaks that like wants to be online at all times. I don't want to be down. I don't want to miss anything, and I always want to have all the products, and I want to sell them at any time. And we had a number of blackouts, and whether it's Xfinity, and usually people hit lines, buried lines. And then in Grand Junction, every now and then we would have just outages in the city. Stoplights are out, and everyone was closing up. And I once we got tied to you, it was more of a how do we get backup internet and telephones, right? And then once we got connected with you guys, we didn't worry about it. We just now we have the ability to take orders. And then the only thing missing was backup power when you have no power, right? And so we have backup power supplies on quite a few of our units. So if you can figure out the backup power thing, you're unstoppable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's pull the string a little bit on that. What did life look like before you came to us? Like when you had internet phone outages, what was the impact on the business?
Most of the businesses around us, like I remember one particular day and Starbucks, everyone was out of business. They just closed, hey, sorry about let me, sorry about the dog. Let me,
That's okay.
but like,
Yeah,
let
we
me,
can resume. We can restart.
yeah, hold on. Let's pause for 1 second.
No problem. No problem.
I'm gonna have to put her away.
That's okay.
She,
Yeah, go
she
ahead.
knows when I'm like talking to someone, and that's when she tends to abuse me. Hey, sit. She'll be good for this. Okay, we can start shortly.
Sure.
Do you want to count down
Okay, so
or?
I'll ask. Yeah, I'll ask the question.
Okay.
Let me pull this up. Matt, let's walk through what life looked like before when you had internet phone outages. What was the impact on business? What was the impact on you, on your employees? Walk me through that.
Yeah. So when we would have a power outage in town, and everyone would lose their internet and their phones, in our town of Glenwood Springs, many people would just close the doors. Like Starbucks, for example, would just lock up. Banks couldn't give out change anymore. Um, I even heard people at the hospital having problems, and they tend to have a backup power supply. But what happened with when we use Vivant, all of that stuff was easy. Not only did you help us install it at a high level, including personal calls with you sometimes, and but we'd have our phones would be working. We would have the ability to take orders on our POS. We wouldn't have to use the crash kit. And you mentioned like what was the cause of the stress with your employees. That's the other reason I chose Vivant. I know many owners talk about, oh, like the prices are a little more versus Comcast versus, Vivant, and like I can't ever get the perfect deal. But for me, I think it's about never losing the sales. It doesn't matter how much money I save or don't save with my vendors. For me personally, I feel like it's very competitive, but um, I feel like if you can sell and be in business 24 hours, whenever you're open, you you're gonna make all the money you need to and not have to worry about a slightly lower or slightly more expensive cost of a vendor. And then you don't worry about your employees stressing out because we know the youth of today, when they don't have a phone or an internet connection, it's almost mass chaos, right?
Absolutely. So, okay, actually, let's pause there. Let
I
me
try to
look at
I try to
other.
cover too many topics at once. So
No worries. No, that's totally fine. Okay, so now kind of jumping a step forward, what has changed in day-to-day operation? What has been the positive impact after you switched or after you started utilizing our services?
yeah, the positive impact after we've utilized your services is one, when the phones aren't ringing at other shops, they're ringing at our shops. When the internet's down at other places, internet's working and we're able to take orders just like we would. And like I mentioned to you before, like we do have backup power supplies, just small ones you can buy on Amazon, for our registers and our back of the house server. Um, but in many cases, places are losing internet and they know right away, but oftentimes your service is so good that we don't know, right? Sometimes you have to tell us like, whoa, you've been without internet for a day or two or sometimes three. And my team doesn't even know it. They're relaxed, they're ordering business as usual. And I think anytime you can take a stress off of a team member, the better off your whole business is. You want your team members to be making you money, not stressing, not losing, not telling customers, hey, we can't take your order, which happens probably more than we all want to admit.
Of course. And now, obviously, things have changed drastically in the last couple of years, 2, 3 years. A lot of online orders, a lot of third party, etc. Um, has that had any impact on you guys? And I know, based on the Jimmy John's convention, about 60% of orders are now online. How did that impact it?
Yeah, you're right. Everything's more digital, everything's more streamlined. The phones aren't ringing as much. So like you kind of cut us cover both places. The phones are working when you need them, and but more importantly is those online orders are coming in. People are still coming in to pick up orders, and pro tip from us, so like even when we're out of power, um, but if our backup supplies are working, your products are all working perfectly. We ice the cold tables so that the food can still stay cold. We don't have backup supplies for all of our refrigeration yet. I don't think many of us do, but we're able to perform 100% operations when most people are closing the doors and just saying out of business, power failure, and so forth. We probably take
Interesting.
it
So
we
you
take it one higher. We don't even close when the power is out unless it's out for more than 3 or 4 hours.
Actually, that's what I was going to come back to. So you've put in these battery backups that keeps the servers running, keeps our equipment running, keeps a register or two running, and no matter what happens, even when there's power outages, power's running, internet's running, phones are ringing, you're taking online orders, everybody else is closing the door, so everybody's coming to you because you're the only game in town now.
Yeah, I've heard like I think the sushi bars they use gas sometimes for to keep their their sushi. I think they can kind of handle some of this, but most of our competitors don't do anything. They just can't handle it. And like I said, I've heard more times than one for whatever reason, Starbucks seems to just close their doors. Maybe a potential customer.
Interesting.
But and then I've even looked into backup power supply, and I think you're looking at, for like a full store, and I think you're looking at $50,000 or something. Most people say that if you're going to do the backup power, you're going to do a trailer and a generator, and we haven't gotten to that level. But another thought with like that could be an added benefit from Vivant to a customer. would be to like, hey, here's the battery backups we like suggest, whether you helped acquire them or whether you just endorse them. The only limit to the battery backups is the amount of time that they can go. Most last like an hour and a half or something, hour. So then you're back to like a little more of a scramble. But
Sure, sure.
would love to have, like, as you see technology improve, love to see Vivant say like, man, these are the battery backups that are the best, the longest lasting. These work great with our systems, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. A note on that one. Let's jump into like support and customer service. So, have you had to deal with customer service, and what was your experience with the team members when it came to support, onboarding, etc.?
With Vivant, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Vivant. Yeah, I would say the customer service has always been excellent. And like I said, including the whenever somebody at a lower level might not be able to handle something, I'm quickly moved to someone that's at a higher level potentially. But many times the people at that answer the phone, the very first phone, can handle it or give you a answer very quickly. So I can tell your team is very integrated from the communication. And then I would say you're A plus plus compared to other businesses that we do business with. You know, you could talk to Xfinity, probably people would give you D, D minus, F. Levant, I'm never going to give you anything lower than an A, you know. So those are good things. And then I think that's another frustration as we get all more automated. If you lose that personal touch a little bit, or if your automation's not good enough, then it's just you're more frustrated than ever. I'm surprised how many Jimmy John owners put up with staying with Xfinity or another big carrier because they don't think they think it's a little bit cheaper. But like I don't know why more people don't weigh the customer service aspect. To me, it's huge. Like nobody wants to be on a 1-800
Absolutely.
number.
Totally, yeah. While everybody's doubling down on AI, we're doubling down on humans and trying to ensure that we build more stronger, solid relationship with our customers.
Hmm.
In terms of let's obviously restaurants are tough businesses to be in, especially now with inflation and the cost of everything going up. Everybody's suffering from cost increases, but considering how difficult it is with thin margins, labor challenges, rising food costs, etc., any dollar that is lost on the top line revenue is not recoverable. If I can't place an order today at your restaurant, I'm forced to go to your competitor, order from them because I need to eat. So how would you, I guess, what is your recommendation to other fellow restaurateurs that are in that situation where they're dealing with these outages, phone, internet, Wi-Fi, etc., and they're losing revenue because of it, and they just don't know that a solution exists? What recommendation do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, I know obviously we're talking to you and Bavant, but I know other people have used wireless backups. I don't have any experience using a Verizon wireless backup um, but again, you're not going to give the customer service that you guys provide. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the podcast with me, but um, yeah, I think I would advise people to put business before outages and put Vivant before trying to save a few dollars a month. And many times you can save people money. I know that because Xfinity is not always, or another carrier is not always the cheapest. And then when they are the cheapest, then again, you fall back into that endless cycle of, but they're not the best, you know. I think you guys are striving to be the best and the most, and this is a unsolicited compliment to you guys. I think of all the vendors we have in Jimmy John's, Cisco, the guys that do the aprons, the Coca-Cola people. Very, very few, if any of them, treat us like customers. So you guys do an excellent job there, you know. So not only do you have a service that works really well, the customer service side needs to be important. That's how we make money as Jimmy John franchisees, right? If our customer service is failing, then we're failing, and you guys get that. So good job.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. And then in terms of like reasons why we're different, like why in your from your point of view, from your perspective, it sounds like products, customer service, but I'm curious to hear it from you. What are the differentiators of Vivant versus everybody else? Why should they choose us specifically? Because it sounds like maybe I'll recap that. So get some sort of a backup internet, get some sort of a redundancy in place so you don't lose revenues. And now on this question, I'm more interested in now that they made that decision to invest that money in having some sort of an alternative solution, why should they go through us, Vivant?
Yeah, and two examples come to mind, and the one is the PCI compliance part. Like you just took another thing off my plate that wasn't a very expensive add-on, and all of a sudden, I'm not having to think about it much. And again, as a Jimmy John owner, or any franchisee owner, you want to take things off your plate, right? And then a second example was, just being able to call you guys and saying, "Hey, we had an issue that the backup AT&T was out, so we couldn't use your service." And then you had a solution. You didn't have just a problem. They said the solution was like, "Well, we can get you another SIM card for Verizon." So now we have two backups, a redundancy backup of a backup. So then you're really feeling really good, right? You have so many more solutions. And I think that's what we all want in this world. The most successful companies, they invent solutions. And I think you guys do a good job of that. I have not run into one thing where you're like, oh, we don't have an answer to that. I think the backup power supply is the only thing I can think of is like, how do we as a big group figure out how to stay open for 12 hours, for example, without power? And that's very difficult. But I think as
Sounds like I need
batteries,
to do a partnership with Tesla.
yeah, as batteries get better, I think we can figure that out too, right? Um, but yeah, no, I'd say
Absolutely.
that those are all solutions. Thank you for being a solution-based company.